Changal sir. Yes, sir. Unmute, sir. You please unmute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I start the program, sir?
Yeah, I think I'm audible now, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
73 audience are there. Anyway, they will. Should we wait for another 2 minutes? So it's
Yeah, just 2 more minutes, sir. Just
2
two
more
more
minutes.
minutes.
Yeah. So
2 more
audience,
minutes.
bear with us. 2 minutes we will take.
I think this is also live streaming, and most
Yes.
of my postgraduates are already there on the live stream.
Yes, sir.
So many people are already seeing this program. So good.
Yes, sir. Can we start, sir?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yes. Respected seniors, my dear colleagues, and juniors, as you all know, the Association of Southern Urologists, ASU, is one of the largest body of zonal chapters of Urology Society of India. So many webinars we are conducting nowadays in all parts of the India and various parts of the world also. Today, we have taken up a unique webinar on how to make an effective PowerPoint presentation. Before we start, I request the President ASU, Dr. Changal sir, to address the audience, and then I will give the introduction talk. Then we will hand over to Dr. Sanjai Addla, the today's speaker. Over to President, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Good evening, everyone. When we were postgraduates about some 30 years ago, as MS postgraduates, we had only slide presentations and OHP presentations. When this PowerPoint presentation came to us, it was really a big boon to us. The colors with which these PowerPoint presentations came, the pictures, the memes, the themes, the animations, looking at these slides moving from the right to the left and one corner to the other corner. And it was what and all, it was absolutely fantastic. But over a period of time, I think we also started realizing that we are missing something. Probably we got carried away a little too far that we missed the basics of the presentation. So today's discussion is all going to be the basics of PowerPoint presentation. See, the very basic of a PowerPoint presentation is you should know the audience to whom you are actually talking to. What is the kind of font you're supposed to use? What is the background you're supposed to use? And what is the exact content of this? And this is the very idea of this particular program. I think on behalf of the ASU, it's time for me to welcome you all for this very wonderful program or wonderful day, evening for us. The next 1.5 hours is going to be absolutely fantastic, and how the basics of the art of PowerPoint program is going to be. Now, the bigger question is why Dr. Sanjai Addla? Dr. Sanjai Addla himself is a senior consultant as well as an uro-oncologist. The reason why Dr. Sanjai Addla is, when Dr. Chandra Mohan asked Dr. Sanjai Addla whether he can do this presentation, you would not believe he has put nearly 20 hours of effort on this presentation. That is the capacity of this particular person. That is why we are having Dr. Sanjai Addla here for this presentation. On behalf of ASU, I also take this opportunity to welcome you, sir. Dr. Chandra Mohan, sir, kindly go ahead, please.
Yeah. Thank you, President ASU Changal sir. Now, to address the audience, many of us say that it is not the mission which is very important, it is the surgeon which is very important. It is the speaker which is very important. Even though the content is very good, if the speaker is not able to deliver properly with his lecture, it does not look nice. And most of us have to face this PowerPoint presentation one or the other time in your lifetime. More so, in the present competitive world, we have to express through PowerPoint presentation. I thought it will be very useful for the PGs, and this is the first program of our new council. Our new council felt that this is good program, especially Dr. Changalvarayan sir said, you go ahead. That's why we are here. As far as the speaker concerned, as mentioned by Changalvarayan sir, the speaker Sanjai Addla is my uh, PowerPoint. He is my MBBS classmate, so I know him for last uh, 30 years. So when he joined MBBS, we were not aware that he is so good. But after he went to UK and came back to Hyderabad, initial 2-3 years, it took time for me to understand his capabilities. Subsequently, he is an uro oncosurgeon, so he has SOGO sessions and he used to talk many places, and everywhere he was called for his crispness. Many will have the same knowledge, but for his crispness, he was given many international and national talks. To introduce about Dr. Sanjai Addla on the topic today, how to deliver effective PowerPoint presentation. He is consultant uro-oncology surgeon, robotic surgeon, Apollo Cancer Institute, Jubilee Hills, Hyderabad. He is also council member of our state, Telangana and AP SOGAS, past consultant urological cancer surgeon and head of robotic cancer surgery at Bradford Teaching Hospitals, Bradford, United Kingdom, during the period of 2009 to 2016. He is post-CCT fellowship in urological cancer surgery at Christie Hospital, Manchester, United Kingdom, 2009. His areas of expertise, as many of you know, robotic surgery for urological cancers. He has performed more than 500 robotic prostatectomy and more than 150 robotic partial nephrectomy. He was awarded higher research degree from University of Manchester for undertaking research on stem cell origin of renal cell cancer. The IPSEN Fund Training Award he got in 2008. BUF Clinical Visit Award in 2008. Invited to the British Parliament discussion on access to robotic surgery in 2015. Much applaudable record on his curriculum vitae. The Best Reviewer Award for the year 2017 from the Indian Journal of Urology, awarded the annual meeting of USI, January 2018. He has over 20 peer-reviewed publications and numerous national and international presentations. With this introduction, without wasting time, we will hand over the program to Sanjai Addla. Once again, I request that you are all muted from our side because this is not bilateral discussion. As it is unilateral discussion, kindly bear with us, and if you have any doubts, please put in chat box. Dr. Sanjai, one more request I wanted to do. After 15 minutes of presentation, as this is the month of membership drive for Association of Southern Urologists, I will take 2 to 3 minutes of break so that I can explain how the membership can be done with ASU. Thank you, Sanjai Addla, for once again. Thank you, President Changalvarayan sir, for giving this opportunity to us. Over to you, Sanjay.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for this opportunity, ASU Council and VC Mohan for this opportunity. So I will take the first 20-25 minutes setting up the talk, and I will be able to give the second part of the talk about the PowerPoint presentation after VC Mohan talks. So this is what I was given to me, how to deliver an effective PowerPoint presentation. So I just divided that into 3 parts: making it effective, making it a presentation, and making it a PowerPoint presentation. So I wanted to include all the 3 in that. Acknowledgements where that due. There are some slides that I have used from Dr. Arvind Panda. Dr. S.K. Raghunath also has given advice in build-up of the presentation, and majority of the talk has been guided by me viewing TED Talks. They were exceptionally good, and these are the people that I have used the TED Talks of. And further, from the last document, the Washington Education document, majority of the quotations that I've used have come from that. Okay, so let's start off on our journey. So this is how I've done. Rather than just going into PowerPoint presentation, I thought, how do we make a presentation? How do we talk in any sense? I might not be given a PowerPoint presentation. I might be just asked to do a presentation. So how do we make one? How do we make a PowerPoint presentation? And how do we make a good presentation? Okay. The first question, whenever we start off on any journey, is why? Why bother with it? And as both the president and the secretary have mentioned, whether the only sign that somebody is alive, the only sign that somebody is working is whether you're doing a PowerPoint presentation or not. Anytime, anybody has to be doing this. And when I remember when I did my first presentation, this was in 1997. When I did my presentation, it was using the overhead projectors, and it was on the acetates that we had to write. And then from then on, when my son had to do a presentation, it was more of a show and tell. So whether you are a class 5 standard student or you might be the 90-year-old, whatever, you have to be doing some kind of a presentation, some kind of a public talk that you have to do. So that's the reason I thought it was important. And majority, when you listen to a whole day of talk, there would be only one or two that you remember. So I just tried to analyze and see, why do I actually remember only those 2 talks? Why don't I remember the other 25 talks that I have listened to? So let's see whether we can try to come up with some answers. So intermittently, I have put this out just so that we can be orientated or probably inspired to do something different. There are 3 components to any talk, and this is any talk. You can go for a ward round. There are these 3. There is the audience or the nursing staff or the patient, the speaker who is me, and there is the information that has to be transmitted from me to the patient, and there is a bit of a communication as well. So any conversation generally tends to have the 3 components: the audience, the speaker, and the content of what we are trying to speak. These are the 3 components. So let's see how we can highlight each of these aspects, and then how we can standardize these elements. Any meeting you have to go to, first thing that you have to look at it is actually who are my audience. So let's say that if I was doing an FRCS urology preparatory course, I cannot use the word in my belief or this is what I think. It has to be as what I know is what is the truth. What do the guidelines say? So it is always important to know actually who am I talking to? What is the overall context of the meeting? Is it a master class or basic science course? What it is, we have to be knowing that. The other thing is how many people are going to be there? How big is going to be the lecture hall? Is it going to be 10,000 people, in which case, you have to put in some effort, or will it be 1-to-1, wherein there are about 5 to 10 people? Know your audience. What is the capability of the knowledge? What is the level of the knowledge? And try to pitch what you're talking to their level. And I always say this, don't talk to them in that you talk to them, but don't talk down to them. Try to talk at their level. Try to talk at the level that they want to listen to, and hopefully they are in a position to understand what you are telling them as well. And it isn't always, as Dr. V.C. Mohan has already said, it isn't about actually curriculum. It isn't about the knowledge transfer. It is about how it is done. That is what is important. The spirit and the methods of teaching that we are using is of importance. So let's see what is the objective. The objective of what I was given today is I had to first ask that question to myself. What am I going to do? What are my objectives? Generally, if you look at any objectives, anything that we do, we tend to have inform, inspire, persuade somebody to buy something or persuade them to think the way I want to think, entertain them with the meeting, or transform them. And actually, though there are 5 of these objectives, you want to achieve majority of this. It would not just be information. Let's say if I just started talking about PowerPoint, you have to have this one on the first slide, second slide, this one. You would not be interested in listening to it. So it is always a combination of information, inspiring them to know a bit more, persuading them to think the way we think or I think, entertaining them so that intermittently, when they're going to fall asleep or their attention is diverted, I need to bring them back. And hopefully, I'm able to transform all of them or some of them in line with what I would like to do. The reason why information is the baseline way of doing it. Whenever we give a talk, we always think about, okay, what do I put on the slide? What is the information I want to put on the slide? But actually, it is quite a poor way. The reason is when you look at the attention span, this is what it is surprising. When you look at the attention span of a human being in 2018 is 8 seconds. 8 seconds. 8 seconds is the duration that we can concentrate on doing a job. A goldfish has a better attention span than us. So if I'm going to talk for 45 minutes, I can't just put up a slide and keep on talking and expect that people will listen. Something has to be done for me to keep their attention for that duration of time. And this is research suggests that this is what it is. And I'm thinking if it was 2018, 8 seconds, probably it is even lower now because loads of time we keep on using and gazing at our smartphone. So 8 seconds is what we are working with. 8 seconds of anybody's attention is what you have every time you start talking. Every time you show them a slide, 8 seconds is their attention. You have to think about how do I keep that? How do I extend it to around a time period that I have been given a talk of? And whenever we communicate, though, again, we always think about what do I inform them? What do I inform them? Look at this one, 55% of communication is non-verbal body language. This is mainly when we are trying to talk to somebody. 55% of what I'm trying to communicate is I haven't even opened my mouth. And when you look at that other one, 38% is how I say my words. What am I emphasizing on? How, whether I'm talking it from the heart or I'm just by hearted something and I'm throwing it them. Only 7% is actually the text that you put in a PowerPoint presentation. So though we keep on reading about what we have to put on it, we have to ensure that the other part, which is the major part, 93% of it, we have to work on it so that we can deliver a better talk. Information, we are in the information age. Everything is easily accessible and every slide has information. But I'll just show you this example. 90%, what I told you in my first slide is already out. 90% of what we hear is forgotten in 30 seconds. I thought this was stunning. How can that be possible? I remember everything that I said at that meeting or this meeting or whatever. We don't. This is what research says. 90% of what we hear is forgotten in 30 seconds. I'll give you an example. Whenever we check in and we have been given a ticket for taking a seat, you have your boarding pass. How often do we look at the ticket to see what seat I am? You look at it and say, oh, 9C. And then you put it. And then when you're boarding, oh, which seat is? I'm 9C. Then you again put it in. And then again, when you reach the seat, you again pick up and see it. That just shows you that what you have read, what you have registered actually has not registered. That has gone out. The other way, whenever we get a phone call and somebody tells you, oh, there is a patient in room 208, please come and see. 2 minutes down the line, you don't remember the name of the patient, you don't remember the room number of the patient. Again, you have to call them and you go to the ward and say, where is the patient? So actually that is truth. 90% of what we hear goes in 30 seconds. 65% of our visual learners, though I might talk a lot, unless I have got something visual, I'm not going to help you retain it. Yes. 80% of opinion. Let's say that you're meeting anybody for any sort of a meeting. 80% of how I'm going to interact with you through my life is decided in the first 4 minutes. So 8 seconds is my attention span. Whatever you tell me goes out of my ear in 30 seconds. And in 4 minutes, you might spend 2 hours of a meeting. In 4 minutes, I have decided how I'm going to behave with you for the rest of our discussion or our conversations in the future. So you have to be thinking that this is not me having less attention span. This is what human beings are in general. That's why we have to be having some sort of a way to hold on to their concentration, hold on to their attention span, and make them retain some of the information that we are providing them. So the objectives, as I said, if I just, my objective is to inform you, I'm going to tell you about this. You know, by the end of your last slide, everything that you have told in the first slide has gone. So it has to be going downwards. You have to transform, you have to entertain them, you have to persuade them for them to believe and retention of that information. If I'm just going to inform somebody, it's gone. It might sound very good for the speaker, but the person who has listened to won't remember any part of it. So rather than informing it, we have to try to transform somebody. I'll tell you what that means. So this is not me saying it. Somebody very, very big, loads of years ago said that. I hear, I forget. I see, I remember. I do, I understand. And then you won't forget it.
Sanjay?
One second. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Now I can hear. You can reshare. No problem. We're going in a proper direction. Thank you. Yes.
This is what it's from a talk from Simon Sinek. Yes. Whenever we do anything, let's say we take the example of Dr. V.C. Mohan. He says, okay, I put in, we always talk about what. What is, what do I do when I need to do a percutaneous nephrostomy? I put the patient in this side and then I puncture it here. Then I will go into the kidney. Yes. Then the next step comes and say, how do I do it? By using an image intensifier, I'm moving my hand and I'm doing it. The last thing we explain is actually why are we doing it? Yes. Let's look, Apple sells a product. Okay. Apple is the only company that sells outside in. Okay. If I do the other way around, let's say that I say we are having a lot of infections in our patients following percutaneous nephrostomy. So we looked at how this might happen. So what we have done is the problem is we have identified the problem, why is happening, and we wanted to address why it might be happening. And then we changed it to what we should be doing. Okay. I have tried to include why first rather than what first. And when you look at this one, the reason why it has been called as a golden circle is what is the information that tends to be processed is by our cortex in the brain. The why, which is mainly the limbic system in our brain, doesn't have any information. It goes by the gut feeling or the feeling. Quite often, whenever you look at certain things, you say, I know everything makes sense, but I just have a feeling that I just can't go with it. That feeling is down to limbic system, which doesn't process the information. Information doesn't get into the central part of the brain. Information is only in the cortex. So unless you engage people at their limbic system, try to explain them why, they're not going to even think about what you're doing it as a what. Let's look at the example of Apple, the way Apple tends to do it. Apple tends to do it as, we are a technologically advanced company. We have got AI at every step of it. And what we have done is we have devised a phone that keeps track of what you are doing, thereby helping you in your day-to-day activity. You think of shopping, it already knows what you're shopping. Rather than saying what it does, they're telling you why an Apple product is better. In the same way, whenever we are trying to sell an idea, information, which is what we are trying to send it to you, always start with why, how, and what. Let's look at the next step. How do I do this in a talk? This is again from a TED talk. Before you start off any talk, you just say, okay, what do the audience know before? What do they believe in? What do they feel? You think probably believe and feel is the same. No, I believe that I should be having lunch. I feel hungry. So the feeling of hunger is a symptom. Belief is a thought process. Belief comes from the medulla, the central part of my brain. Feeling comes from the cortex. Okay. And then I do with this from my cortex and the brain. What do I need to do? So if you go for everything, what do they know? What do they believe? What do they feel? What do they do? And then we will be able to address. I want to inform them so that they know differently. I want to understand why they believe the way they believe so that we can alter it. We have to make them feel better. By the information that I'm providing them, they should feel better about it so that I can say, starting tomorrow, whenever you're going to do a percutaneous nephrostomy, you're going to position the patient at 20 degrees. Otherwise, if you position the patient at 30 degrees, you're going to have a higher chance of infection. Something like, rather than saying that I put the patient at 30 degrees and this is how I do it. So that has to be the order of how we approach any sort of giving of information. So the objectives of any talk or any activity, any teaching session, any conversation has to be in this one. Start off with the information, but the ultimate objective has to be to transform their thought process, transform their feeling about what they want to be doing. Let's think about, if you just close and say, okay, during all my primary school time, who are the best teachers? And you only remember one or two. You won't remember the hundreds of teachers who have taught you. And then you think, actually, why do I remember them? They didn't just teach me, they inspired me. They persuaded me to think that there is a better way. They entertained, they kept on telling me some jokes, and they transformed me into who I am. And it's the same. Let's say if I look at my medical college time as well, there are only one or two people whom I remember who say, yes, they were different. And the reason why they were different is they were not just passing on information from one to another, they were entertaining you, they were transforming you, they were persuading you. That's the reason why you still remember them. And whenever we are doing this, there has to be some sort of an emotional investment into it. Okay. And I'm just going to tell you what these things are. Whenever I'm giving you a talk, I want you to feel the dopamine. I want you to feel the oxytocin. I want you to feel the endorphins. You might say, okay, how do I do it? I'll just tell you how I can induce dopamine into you. Okay. So this was 1999 when I was in England. I had applied for almost 400 jobs and I did not get any shortlisting. And in that, I did not get any interview calls. So I thought, okay, I have to do something about it. So I took a train to meet the person there, and I met the person. And when I was coming back, I had to just go to the washroom. So I asked the person sitting opposite to me, and I said, please just look after my bag. But when I came back from the washroom, my bag wasn't there. All my belongings, my whatever the limited belongings I had in England, I had lost them. And I was feeling so desperate. I lost my Walkman, I had lost this. And then I was going back to my accommodation. And then the security guy called me and said, are you Sanjai Addla? And I said, yes. And they said, okay. Then he told me something. Now, I'm not going to tell you what actually he said, but what I have induced in you is dopamine. What I have done is I've drawn you into my story. By doing that, I've made you remember things in a proper order. Now I'm able to motivate you. I'm able to focus you. I will make you remember what I'm going to tell you. How do I induce oxytocin? All of us as medical students or anybody, we always remember first things. And unfortunately, we also remember the first time somebody died in our hands. So I remember I was a house surgeon on the medical ward, and this was Usmania General Hospital. So it was already a 100-year-old building. Everything was, if it rained, it would leak a lot, and everything was a bit mushy. And there was this young girl, 24-year-old girl, who was Shamita. I still remember her name. And she had a postpartum cerebrovascular accident. And she was there with us. We were giving her heparin on a regular basis. And the stroke had improved and she was getting better as time went along. And on a Saturday, she was supposed to be discharged. And I said, okay, we will see you on Monday. When I went back on Monday, she wasn't there. So I thought, okay, probably somebody discharged her on Sunday. But when I asked one of my friends, they said, no, 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 she had another cerebrovascular accident and this time she didn't make it. And it is a sad story. It fills you with a lot of different kind of emotions. And one of the biggest emotions, that the hormones that drives this, is oxytocin. What I can do now is, because you feel for me, you trust me, there is a bond between you, and I can use that to convince you that there is something that I can make you remember. So that is what oxytocin. So whenever there is oxytocin in your body, you become more generous. You can understand what I was feeling at that time. And you will remember, you almost imagine how the building would be, how the bed would be, how it was a rainy season, all those sort of things. You use your imagination to remember. Endorphins, whenever you tell a joke, whenever you are able to induce a laughter in somebody, you make them relax, you make them receptive. So whenever we are trying to give a talk, that 8 seconds of the attention span, I have to stretch it by inducing dopamine, by inducing oxytocin, by inducing endorphins. What I don't want to be doing is the devil's cocktail, which is, if I make you frightened of what I'm telling you, you will just become, yeah, you might be attentive because you're irritable and intolerant, but you won't remember majority of the things that I've told you. So by trying to include these small stories in the overall journey of things, I make you emotionally invest in what I'm telling you. So in that way, I'm able to inform you, inspire you, persuade you, entertain you, and hopefully transform you. How do we do it? When you go and start doing a first time presentation, how does it become? In that, do you just go and start talking, or do you have nerves about it? And I famously remember Mahendra Singh Dhoni saying that everybody gets nervous. It's just some people are very good at hiding it. And that's what we have to be doing it. There are lots of ways of dealing with it. Be in the audience, listen to how the other speakers are talking. You can rehearse. Normally, that's what I tend to do. I tend to go through the first 3 or 4 slides a lot of times in my head, so that there is no that starting trouble. And I'm already in my fourth slide by the time I'm there on the screen, so that I'm mentally prepared. Generally, I don't involve in a chatter with someone just before my talk, and that is all the time. That's what is the case. The one easier way, especially if you're starting off, is just memorize the content of the first few slides, so that you know that you have got the content ready, you have got the information ready. The other part, the delivery, those things can be taken off. If you do not have the information, then it becomes more difficult to deliver. So as I said, there are only two types of speakers. Everybody feels nervous. I was feeling nervous for the last 2 3 days, just because this was a talk that I haven't delivered before. So that's what is known. Now we come to the content part of it. Okay, I've got another around 10 slides before we can take a break. Yeah. Okay, so the content is, unless we are convinced, unless we have the passion to be doing it, there is no point in just doing it for the sake of doing it. As any talk, I say that if I'm delivering 10 minutes talk, I have put in 10 hours of effort. Every minute needs at least 1 hour of my time, my own personal time, so that I can deliver something that is useful. And it isn't just about me trying to deliver a talk. There are 132 people who are participants who have given their half an hour time to me, and I have to make it worthwhile. It's just not something that I can just deliver and say, I did my best. No, I have to make their half an hour, 45 minutes worthwhile. Okay. The structure of any talk is the start, the middle, and the finish. This is not me saying. Aristotle defined that's what it is. Whenever you start, there is you have to have that enthusiasm about the subject, enthusiasm about talking to a new audience, and there has to be something hooking onto the audience. I'm just going to give you some examples of it so that how you can do it. And this is something new I learned. Develop the start and finish, develop at the end of your presentation. What I mean is, don't start your first slide in your preparation as the first slide. You just say, this is all going to be my content, and then say, okay, where does my start, where does my end? So don't start and end as your first and last slides. What I mean by that is, have your content and say, okay, what is the new thing that I've learned in? What does that jumps up to me? That is going to be my starting slide. Whatever I'm going to say, I'm going to teach them is going to be my end. So don't start off saying that what is my first slide. No, your first slide will be almost be the last slide that you will prepare. That is something new that I learned in the preparation for this talk. So the start of a talk is, what is exciting about your talk, you put it at the beginning. And you will only know what is exciting about your talk once you have gone through your talk. What jumps out to you, what story jumps out to you is what is going to be your start. Every start has to be the current status, what needs to be changed, how are we going to change, what is going to be changed, and the last thing will be call of action. The reason why I said start and finish is, any paper you write, if you look at the introduction and discussion, it is almost the same. Quite often when you start off with the introduction, you take few things and put it in the discussions, because that's what it is. Start is about what we know, finish is about what we have added more. Okay, so the call to action is, what I have taught you, now what are you going to do the next? So that is going to be the only thing that is there in the finish. So start and finish, you're going to do it at the end of your talk so that you know what is the best thing in my talk. You have to put it at the beginning. Okay, I'm just going to give you a couple of examples, and I apologize if nobody knows about the Gettysburg Address. Was done by Abraham Lincoln in 1863. It is considered as the best speeches ever given by a human being. Yes, you would expect it to be very long. It had only 278 words. Only 278 words, 1863. Still people remember. And that's what is the power of a very good address. Okay. What did he start off with? He started off with this. Our forefathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty, dedicated to the proposition that all men are created. So what he is doing is, he is going to the past. Every story is a past, present, and then the future. Okay, so the start of it was, what did our forefathers do? What did they want to do? Ending, this nation under the God shall have new birth, that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. This was the ending. So he started off with the history, then tells what is happening now, then tells you how the future is going to be. That is almost every movie you see. That is always the case. Every movie is a story. Every talk is a story. And that is how the Gettysburg, which is considered as one of the best speeches ever given, had that. I'll give you another example of it. Martin Luther King Jr., 1963. So this was August 28, 1960. The reason why this is important is, this was in 1963 when there was no social media, there was no television. This was civil rights leaders who just gave a call to say, let's come and be there in front of Abraham Lincoln. Okay, so on the steps of Lincoln Memorial, 250,000 people came out of their own will from all over USA to listen. Why did they listen? Did they come to do some action? Was he giving anything? No, he wasn't giving anything. He made them convinced that what he was talking about is something that is dear to their heart. And what did he talk in that? It was a 17-minute speech. It wasn't a very long speech, 17-minute speech. What did he do? He started off with this again in the past, 5 score years ago. A score is considered as 20 years. So 100 years ago, a great American, that was Abraham Lincoln, in whose symbolic shadow we stand today, signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Middle, how are we today? 100 years later, there is no change. Negro is still not free. How is it going to be in the future when all God's children will be able to join hands and sing, free at last, free at last, thank God Almighty, free at last? This is what every speaker who has managed to communicate with people have. It isn't information. There is no information in any of these things. Still, 50 years down the line, 200 years down the line, we are still quoting this because these were transformational speeches. And that's what we got to be doing. Communicating has been there, will be there, and we have got newer ways of communicating. Now we are going into a PowerPoint part of the presentation. So I'll request Dr. Chandra Mohan to talk about the drive for the ASU, and then we'll come back and listen about the PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah. Sanjay, thank you for continuing the nice discussion and presentation. Can I ask you to put down your put down your screen so that I can talk to the audience? Yeah, please, Rajendra, you do it. Yeah, thank you. So, with the permission of President ASU, I wanted to take few minutes of time. Dear friends, whenever you join urology, remember you are part of the society. And in future, these societies are very important. If I have to be brief, there are 3 societies you have to be with. That is your state body society. Second is your zonal, that is, I am talking today about South Zone. And thirdly, it is about the country, that is Urology Society of India. If you remember correctly, the Western countries take the registration and membership fee every year, amounting to very large money in our Indian rupees. But when you take the Indian scenario, for example, South Zone Urology, you will be surprised. For lifetime, 6,000 rupees is the membership fee. Lifetime. That means you are eligible to the conferences at a lower price. You are eligible to present anything. You are eligible to get any prize. You are eligible to get the knowledge at a very meager cost. So don't do any mistake. As soon as you join your urology, please become member of all the 3. I'm not selfish to say that become ASU member, ASU member, ASU member. No. State body around 5,000, 6,000 for ASU. National body may be around 10,000. Altogether, it will be around less than 20,000 for lifetime. In the present scenario, where PGs are getting around 70 to 80,000 rupees per month, please consider this as the most important in your life. I don't want to go into the details why you should become a member. Tomorrow, this type of presentation, if you are not able to listen, we are coming up with a lot of presentation, how to buy the equipment, what exercise you should do daily, how to make your social life happy, how to compete in the present generation of too many urologists, how to do a surgery. I can invite any international speaker to this forum. You will be able to listen free of cost. By chance, if I put login details only to the member, can you join? No. So such things will happen in the future. If you are not allowed to the any hall, even bathroom, in the international conferences without registration, without membership, it will be high registration charges. May do any mistake. I'll take you only 2 minutes journey of the through the sharing the screen, how you go to the website and do it. It's very easy. When I went to Korea recently, in any of the shop, no shopkeeper available, everything online. It was frustrating first day because we are used to pay cash, take water, take this thing, ask this, that. Nobody is there to do all that. It's only our inhibition to do all that. When you live in Western world, you will do that. Our life is moving toward everything you are ordering by phone, Uber. It is much simpler membership activity. So you have to think only 6,000 rupees. You should be passed out DNB, or you might have joined DNB or MCH urology. Third, you have passed out and you need two members' signature on your membership form. That's all. That's all. So let's go quickly how you go to the South Zone Urology website. Open. Now I'm sharing the screen. This is the website which was formed by the previous council members with a lot of efforts. And it is seen like Association of Southern Urologists, South Zone Urology Society of India, the South SZUSA.com. If one phone number you give to us, we can help you to be a member. There is no, in fact, I suggest become a member of all the zones, 6,000 into 424 lifetime. So even if you are a North Zone, you can become South Zone member, but you will be associate member. Nothing wrong if you are associate, but still you get valuable information. Now you go to the membership, you search the membership here. Membership guidelines are there. It's up to you. You read it. Become a member. You click. Automatically, these bank details will come. You pay the money by QR code also. Everybody knows how to pay QR code. Get a copy of that. Keep it in your phone or laptop. And these are the files you have to choose for the members. Simply, if you are PG associate member, if you are consultant, you are permanent member. If you are practicing in the area, permanent member. If you are not practicing in the area, you will become again associate or affiliate member. That's not at all a problem. You just have to produce information. You fill up your name, mobile number, everything, date of birth. That's all. All this is address. Everybody, every day you will be doing this. After that, payment details, you fill it up and submit. Once you submit, it will ask something, your photo, it will ask. This is the problem for the urologist. You have to keep one photo. You have to keep one membership form, which is signed by two people, and then take a click of it and put it in the laptop or the phone. Its phone is easy, in fact. See here, you click to here to generate, the application will come. Full member, proposed by, seconded by. Then submit. After that, you go back. Then you submit all these, and then you will get within short time. This everything is online. Previously, we send by post. Somebody says that I did not get, you did not get. Now you submit everything, and all the files you enter. Again, your name, everything, date of birth you enter, and at the end, the payment details, all this enter. You submit. I will receive the certificate. Next day, I will tell that okay, you are the member. How much time it took? 2 minutes. All you have to do is a payment details, one photocopy. Your form, membership form, download by any printer in your hospital or in your college. Write down your name, and 2 persons, permanent members, have to sign and then become member. So with this, I will not disturb you. Sorry for taking this time, because September month is the membership drive month for ASU, and this activity is under the ASU. I have taken your time. Now we will be moving towards much important. See, Sanjai Addla has given a great introduction. If I have presented, you stand like this, you put like this, I might have made it, but that's not the way. He has given the historical aspect of PowerPoint presentation. Stay back, and then we will continue with the rest of the presentation. Thank you very much.
Can you see?
Yes, communication.
You can see. Okay. So communication has been ongoing from times immemorial. The three biggest communicators in the world, Jesus Christ, Muhammad Prophet, and Krishna, did not have PowerPoint slides. Okay. And when you look at it, human communication has been there with voices for over 27,000 years. Text has been there for 7,000 years, and PowerPoint has been there since 1987. So yes, it is a new modality of communication, but communication was happening even before that. PowerPoint, created by a Forethought Incorporation, initially was there on Mac, then bottle, and then became a Microsoft product. They're available on Mac as well, rather than just, so Mac was the original investors, but it was bought over by the Windows. So since 1990, when it was bundled along with the Windows and the Microsoft Office, that's when it totally took off. Now almost 90 to 95% of any presentation anywhere in the world is done through this. I'm going to come through these small ones that are the main thing that I was asked to present, which is what sort of a background, text, font, animation, timing, visuals, and video we got to be using in a PowerPoint presentation. When you look at the background, I've tried to question what has been mentioned before because I have a darkish background with the text highlighting in the foreground. Okay, this was useful when we used to have dimly lit or the projectors were not good enough. That's what my feeling is. I will put the same thing on color. Which one do you find? If this was in a very dark room, I think this is the background is more brighter than the foreground. Yes. But normally, whenever we go and do any big presentation, the halls are actually lit up anyway. So there is background light. So I tend to choose white with black font. But when you look at the theory part of it, they tend to prefer it like this, in that a bluish background with either yellowish or white foreground. Okay, so that's what is with respect to the background. The size of the font. Again, if I'm going to just show you the slides, what jumps at you? Actually, what jumps at me is this communication. This part is not highlighted. So the communication, the heading, which is not of that much use, is what actually is highlighting. So that isn't the right font I should be using. I should be using font differently. So let's see here. So I made the heading smaller and I have made the text bigger. Now my highlighting is on all the 4 points which I want to highlight. Okay. And again, all the headings are bigger size compared to the text, but I just wanted to highlight that that is a wrong way of doing it. But we continue to do it, and you have seen my slides. That's how all of us tend to do it. When you look at the next part of it, if you look at just this slide, what you see is your eyesight is gravitating towards the communication and the PowerPoint. Those are the 2 points. The other things are not there. Okay, so this is how we are supposed to use the text in a way that highlights it. Normal white background is fine because majority of the places where we are presenting seem to be the background light is already there. So that's the reason the white doesn't glare. Whereas if you are doing it in a very dark room, preferably have a darkish background with white as the text. Okay, so this is the text size. You're supposed to see it from around 20 feet. That's the reason why it's generally a 24 font. Okay, anything that is traffic light colors, anything that is red, green, or orange will catch the attention. So in the pictures, like if you see my screen, this one is what is highlighted. The green and the red is what is highlighted from the app that we are using. So anything that is moving is going to be highlighted. So background, look at the meeting, how big is going to be the hall, and then set it up. Preferably highlighting the text. Anything that you want to bring it to the attention of the people is what you have to make it into a broader font or make it bold. How much text? Okay, here if it was a real-time one, I could have done a more of an exercise. So I'm just going to make you count what is there on the slide. Okay, so I'm just going to count and time, and you see how many of them are there. And you had to count and say there are 9 of them. Okay, generally when you time it, it takes around 1.4 seconds for you to count the dots. Now, how many are there? Again, you have to count and say there are 7. It takes you around 1.2 seconds for you to count that. Now, I didn't count. It came in instantaneously. It takes around 0.2 seconds for me to tell that there are 5 dots. The reason is this is visual. This is mathematical. My different part of my brain has to count them and then come up with the answer. Whereas this one is visual. I look at it and say, I've got 5. So the time difference between identifying this is 0.2 seconds. This is 1.2 seconds. So this is almost a lot more time, 5 times more mental capacity I have to use to read a slide that has this many dots compared to this many dots. So that what that gets you is you have the heading and 5 lines. That's what you want. So that's what comes to background. We have already gone through 24 size font. There is the rule of 5 lines, 5 words, 5 minutes per slide. This, I think, is a bit of everybody uses their slides in a different way. whenever we send out an invite for a meeting, what we say is that, oh, you've got 10 minutes, you've only got 15 slides. So what people do is they stuck so many things onto each slide, because of which there is so much information. This is rather than 5 minutes, probably 90 seconds per slide. So if you've got a 10-minute talk, 15 to 17 slides is what you will need. Okay. Don't talk, don't have a paragraph and talk. The reason is the working memory of my brain is limited. Either I can hear you or read. I can't do both. So that's the reason you can have some bullet points and then talk about it, or you just read what is there. But if you are going to give me a speech that is different to what is written, I can only follow one, and generally I end up reading, which is similar to, let's say that when you're watching a movie with subtitles, what tends to happen is you end up reading at the bottom. You stop listening, because that's what is natural. We can either listen or read, and commonly visual memory is better. That's the reason you end up reading. Animation. I'm just going to give you an example. So the same slide that we have used before, I'm using it this way. I'm using it there. And as you can see, it is useful when you use it in an appropriate fashion. And Dr. Changalvara was mentioning that whenever there is a prize paper, you're not supposed to be using any animation in it. Okay, so use the animation to highlight an issue, because generally whenever anything is moving, it is better highlighted, but don't do it for the sake of just doing it, animation. Okay, video, any video that you're going to show, tell why you're showing it. So there has to be an introduction. I'm going to show you a short clip of me putting a percutaneous nephrostomy in a different way. And at the end of it, tell what were the learning points from that video. And rarely do you have to put your own interviews in it, because you're anyway there physically. You might as well talk what you were talking rather than put a clip of your previous interview into any of your videos. Video clip, especially for a surgeon, are good, but don't make them long. Shorter ones with a smaller take-home messages are better. Okay, so this is what we have come. We have identified background, the font size, how many things need to be there on each, animation to highlight. Okay, and repetition at least 3 times. What I have done here, if you see, I've already repeated this slide 3 times. I've said what I'm doing. So there has to be one message per slide. The moment you go with more than one message per slide, control the contrast and highlight the messages. Okay, and repetition of anything that you want as a take home at least 3 times. Okay, now comes to the content. This is the same talk that was given by, this is the I Have a Dream talk from, that was given by the Reverend, that was given in the civil liberties movement. Okay, and as you can see, I have put all the talk here. I have a dream, I have a dream, I have a dream. And this is such a brilliant talk. And if it was him using the PowerPoint presentation, this is how probably he would have used. Most probably not. For the same content, I have taken off all that and I've put it as a dream, made it a bit more palatable. Okay, even this one is not good enough, because though there are 5, there are more than 5 words in each one. So still you have to read it. I have a dream, the sons of former slaves, the sons of former slave owners will be, so you have to read it. I'm not able to highlight it. So it isn't just about the content you have. It has to be much more palatable, much more digestible to the people whom you're trying to present it to. Okay, so do limit any of the content. I asked the chat GPT saying that I'm doing a presentation. Can you give me what I should be? So I asked the chat GPT in a query saying that I'm doing a presentation, as to say, how do I do a presentation? So it gave me wonderful content. Everything, all the presentation was all done for me. But what tends to happen is, it isn't the story. Like I showed you, it was the same speech, I dream speech, that was given in such an emotive way by somebody, and I converted into a PowerPoint slide, and I just could not deliver the punch. So it isn't about the story, it is about how it is told that is important. Let's say that I found the script of Bahubali and I make the movie. Do you think I can ever match the imagination of the original author? So we can take the use of the chat GPT, we can find a story, but the imagination, the delivery, the screenplay has to be ours. Okay. One of the most important, when I said everybody has got attention span of 8 seconds, how can we keep them focused? By making the learning an active process. When we are in front of each other, we can always make it a learning exercise and say that, okay, I'm going to ask you a question, or somebody is trying to doze off, you can crack a joke or something. So make it a bit of an active process. Okay. You can do it like this by trying to pull back the attention, by stopping the information transfer and then pulling back, putting in some aligned story, asking some question, asking some humor. And when you look at the TED Talks, the best TED Talks were all about stories. Okay, so that's a reason you have to find some way of holding on to your audience. This is a very great analysis by Nancy Duett. So what she did is she did the both the I Have a Dream talk and Steve Jobs 2004, 2007, sorry, it should have been a spelling mistake, launch, 2007 iPhone launch, and then looked at why these two talks were as good as they were. And what she found was every talk, as I said, starts in the past, tells you about the present, and then gives you a better future. So it starts off saying how it was before, what was promised, what is the current status now, how were the old phones, the Nokia phones that were clicky, they were not responsive, they were not giving us the information. Then now we have a phone that is going to be responding to your demand. You can touch, it's going to feel your touch. Not only that, you can make a call just with your touch. You don't need to press a button. And what this is it is always, every time you take the audience with you to a high, then you can hold them for a period, but the audience will come down again. Then you have to find another way of lifting them up, telling them another story, or asking a question, or piquing them interest with something, so that at the end, I have raised I've converted them, I've transformed them from this level to this level, and I can make them do an action. Okay. And it was surprising to see both the talks just fitting the same pattern. They were separated by almost 50 years, but still, any effective talk tends to have this sort of a pattern. Okay. This is what I use. Recently, I was given a talk about emerging role of genomics of prostate cancer, as dry as it gets. So what did I had to do? This was my first slide. Okay. Sorry, Angelina Jolie picture was there, it didn't come. So I said she has done more for genomics and cancer genomics than any scientist has ever done. Another talk, very dry one, AI impact on uro-oncology. And I started off saying that we will start with the climax. I will follow Maniratnam rather than going with the introduction. I'll start off with the climax. And then this was the other one. How are these three people related to the apple? Where the apple is closer to Alan Turing, Newton, or Adam and Eve. Something to drive them back towards the topic that you are discussing. Okay. Body language. Body language is very important. Let's say if I'm asking somebody to do, just if I say, please come, if I do this, I'm ordering somebody. If I'm saying this, I'm requesting somebody. I didn't do anything. The tone of the voice is the same. Just by the hand gestures, it changes. Hand position. When I had my initial discussion, when I was doing my fellowship, when we went on advanced communication, they said that never do this with your hands. Never put your hands in the pocket. Always keep them like this, so that you are able to converse, you are able to highlight in a different way. Okay. And everybody has a different style of a delivery. Normally, they tend to have three types of delivery. One is either you read out the slides, the second one, you have bullet points, and then you add on information on top of it, or the third, do it from memory. Quite a lot of time they say the best way of delivery is the memory, but it might come like a monotone in case if you have by hearted everything. Okay. And always try to have an interaction with the audience. Not Don't talk, as I said, at them. Try to talk to your audience. Okay. And I always follow this one. So somewhere, if the overall hall is about that big, I find somewhere somebody in the middle, 4 or 5 people. Imagine them to be my long lost friends whom I haven't met for the last 3 4 years, and I'm trying to bring them up to the knowledge basis or whatever information that I'm trying to give, so that if I are able to develop that eye contact with them, that is a better way of doing it rather than me looking at this screen and then delivering it off. So that is to do with the body language part of it. As I said, only 7% of your communication is what is there on the slide as a content. Majority of it is down to non-verbal communication or your body language. Okay. The 5 piece of presentation, you have to be planning, you have to be preparing, you have to put in the effort. Whenever you practice a talk, generally what you know is that your talk is about 20% shorter. So when you have been given a 10 minutes talk, when you do a practice run, it will be running at 8 minutes. That means in the main hall it will run at 10 minutes. So around 20% is you will be undercutting. Don't prepare to the second because you will overshoot. Okay. Performance is all down to how many times you practice, how comfortable are you with your slides, so that you know what is coming next. Okay. Be prepared for some questions. It isn't about knowing all the answers. It is saying, okay, and if you don't know any answer, some answers to some question, just be honest and say, I don't know. Yes, that's enough, because there will be loads of people who are there in the audience who might pick it up and try to answer it for you. Okay. Ending, don't just end it abruptly. People need to know that it is coming. Okay. So you have to go back to the opening and say, "Okay, what did we start off with? Okay. What is the new information I've given you? What has that changed? And now this is what we are going to do. This is what is going to be the conclusion." Ending, you have to thank the organizers, you have to thank the audience, you have to thank the moderator, and always end on time. Try to undercut by about 10 to 20 seconds rather than overshoot. Okay. This is very, very important, especially in meetings. I tend to at least be in charge of, I do follow to the T. It has to be under rather than over. Okay. Summary of what we have learned. Know your audience. Use a structure and brief. I told you what I'm going to go through at the beginning of it. Always make them emotively interested in what you have, an emotional connect with your audience. There is always a story to tell. Repeat the things that you want the people to listen, and make it relatable and authentic. Don't talk down from the pulpit. Try to be at their level so that you are having a communication with them, and that's what brings the authenticity to the talk. Thank you very much. I thank the ASU for giving me this opportunity, and I thank all the audience for being patient and listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjay Addla, for the excellent talk. Especially second half was very crisp and interesting. Maybe more than 100 audience with the margin of only 5 to 10 is very, very uh, commendable job by Dr. Sanjay Addla. I keep watching the audience wave when I was doing many programs. A lot of people, in fraction of minutes, we can observe whether our talk is going well or not. In the when I have given a middle break and then started, only 5 to 10 people exited. After that, everybody continued more than 100. This is also important. To conclude, before I hand over to Dr. Changal sir, I also wanted to mention, dear friends, this is an important presentation. You go through it, all the juniors. Some of the important points what I like are, if you do rehearsal, 20% of the time will cut down. Rehearsal is very, very, very important. Second thing, for God's sake, after listening this presentation, please do not make the slides filled with the tables. Nobody will be able to see. He has nicely told five, five dots we can pick up. Never do more than 5 lines. It should be practice. Even 10% of the juniors, if we can do this, we can make our society, let it be ASU or Indian society, much better. Language is only part of it, but your mode of communication and your slides will speak a lot. Too much animations, as Sanjay said, is not necessary. He said clearly, unless necessary, don't put it. That doesn't make attraction. And in the video, if you show your face continuously, your already face is there in front of everybody. Again, showing your face, big screen, entire face scene, nobody likes it. These are the ABCD. Even when you are standing also, as you said, the hand movements, when you show finger, it is not good. Many people in the Western world, they say some of the things we have to follow, not that they are the best. They say that, yeah, that's nice question. Yeah, thank you for these gestures we have to follow. So this comes with experience, and you are, especially the PGs who are going for prize papers and all, every word you speak from your mouth in 6 minutes matters. Every word matters. So rehearsal and do the best. With this, now I ask President ASU for giving the conclusion remarks. After that, we will end the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Chandra Mohan, and thank you, Dr. Sanjay. Wonderful, really wonderful. Now, a few things which we all should look at is one which Dr. Sanjay sir said, that you can't be a news reader. You cannot text and keep on reading. The more you present, the lesser you put it on the slides, it makes the attention of the people so good, and your body language, the way you communicate is excellent. And the other point which Sir Dr. Sanjay was saying was the 4 minutes, the 4 minute golden line. Because in the first 4 minutes, because we used to say this as examiners, when we go as examiner, or when we students, our students sit as candidates, will tell the first 2 minutes, the examiner will decide whether you pass or fail. Because the first 2 to 4 minutes is the time where you give the maximum attention, and that is where you have to score over. So, same way, the presentation is also the first 4 minutes that is very, very important. Dr. Sanjay was saying an 8 second span, and we can't be concentrating for more than 15 to 20 minutes. But today, sir, nearly 45 minutes of your presentation, none of us moved. We were all concentrating. There is something peculiar in you, the way you presented it actually to us. And each and every slide was really interesting. We really loved this presentation. I think, Chandramohan sir, I think this is going to go up on the YouTube also.
Yes, sir. Within 5 minutes. The
And,
moment the session is
super,
over, it will be
super.
there.
Great, great. So we'll send this link again. So many people have to see. In fact, I was telling my wife that you should have also seen this program. Unfortunately, you're not a urologist. I'm not able to take you in because there's so many people who really would be benefited with this. Thank you for a wonderful talk. And I thank all the people who are listening. Nearly 130 of them were inside, and still they continue to be inside. We are seeing the chat box also. Wonderful, wonderful day. Chandramohan sir, concluding remarks from you, and we'll finish the session.
Yeah. So once again, thank you, the ASU Council, to approve this, and thank you, Dr. Sanjay Addla, for putting enormous effort. Your sincerity in making this presentation is well appreciated by the audience. In future, I must tell you, we already, the speakers like Sanjay Addla, when before taking over my post, I gently requested them, in future, we need help of you people who are good communicators. In next, our PowerPoint presentation may be how to buy the endourology equipment, when to buy the endourology equipment, and how to bargain, how to inquire. These are the essential things. We are selecting good two speakers. We'll come up with the details. Every month, we are planning with such webinars, which are very useful. My only request is please become the member of ASU, either associate member or permanent member, depending on your eligibility. Once again, thank you for the great evening, and we will conclude the session with this. Thank you once again, all of you.
Thank you.
Sanjay, bye. Thank you.